What's up, everybody? This is the Sports League podcast. Back for another week. I'm your host, Alex Leak. We got the co-host Amanda back on the show. Amanda, another fun week of football.
Yeah, and some drama this week. I mean, we got coaches getting fired after week 5. We got players wanting to be traded to teams where coaches are getting fired, maybe. Like there's some good headlines this week, so I'm excited.
Let's go ahead and start off with that game. First of all, the Vikings Jets. Um, I picked the Jets. You picked the Vikings. Um, and the Vikings got out to a 17-0 lead. It wasn't looking good. The Jets fought back, made it interesting in the end, but the Vikings hang on to win 23-17 in London. Aaron Rodgers throws 3 interceptions, the first time in his career that he's thrown 2 first quarter interceptions, including a pick six to Andrew Van Ginkel. Before all the drama, the Jets falling to 2-3. They're not in a good spot right now. The offense is struggling. The defense, though, is like the one bright spot, right?
Well, in the second half, the first half, the defense looked awful, but I was
Yeah.
expecting that defense from last year to show up this season, and we saw last year's defense in the second half. They looked great. I mean, the first quarter they were bad. I think the second quarter they stepped up. But I mean, even without the Nickelback Michael Carter, he's got a hamstring injury he got earlier in the week, and missing Sauce Gardner for a quarter. Like they held them to 2 field goals in the second half. Like they held
Hmm.
the game together. And well, there has been some issues we've talked about on the show about Aaron Rodgers having some early season issues with Garrett Wilson. They just didn't seem to have good chemistry. The concept of Devontae Adams wanting to be traded out of the Raiders, it would make sense for him to go there, but now it's weird because I feel like they could use more veteran help. I know Alan Lazard is there, but we haven't seen him as much production and chemistry with him and Rodgers this year as you would expect. And I'm just curious where the Devontae Adams probable trade to the Jets is now after the coach was fired. Because I mean, it doesn't sound like anyone knew that was coming.
Yeah, and we can get into that too. I mean, I think we were all shocked by it. I don't think, and there was a lot of talk about Aaron Rodgers' involvement in it. I, I think it's a bad move. First of all, I don't think. If anything, Robert Saleh was right. So the whole thing comes down to pretty much Robert Saleh told in a coaches meeting, told the staff that Nathaniel Hackett, the offensive coordinator, was no longer going to be calling plays.
Mhm.
And after that meeting, 5 minutes later, Robert Saleh gets fired. Um, to me, yeah, it's kind of like Nathaniel Hackett is Aaron Rodgers' guy. Aaron Rodgers isn't going to allow that to happen. So that's kind of like the writing on the wall of how it went down. Because the Jets defense, I mean, 7 of those points against the Vikings were a pick six.
Mhm.
So the defense really
Kept him in the
has
game.
been the anchor of the team all season long. It's been the offense that's slowly, that's struggling. So I think they desperately need to trade for Devontae Adams right now. But um, now you've got to deal with the coaching turmoil, and Robert Saleh was one of your best defensive coaches as well. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and this kind of continues the conversation you and I have had back and forth about OCs making better head coaches than DCs. And I think we see it time and time again. Like they just kind of need to stay in their lane. Like there's something about the way the relationship works with a head coach and an OC and focusing on the offensive side and the defensive coordinator doing their own thing. When your head coach is a prior DC, something about the way the communication goes and the focus, we just see them not lasting in the roles for very long. And I think he was a fantastic defensive coordinator. I honestly think Green Bay could use him. We would welcome him there. And as funny as it
Mm-hmm.
is, Devontae Adams would also be a perfect fit in Green Bay right now. Obviously, I don't think that's ever going to
Mm-hmm.
happen. But like we've got Droptavian Wicks over here who can't catch a pass to save his life. Sweet guy. No one's talking shit about him. A few years ago, we had a player like that. I don't know if you remember MVS, Valdez Scantling. Everyone hated him. We talked so much shit about him. Nobody says anything bad about Dontavian Wicks. We're like, oh, he's just like he's a nice kid. Like he's just learning. It's so funny how the perception is different. But I mean, Robert was the best man at Matt LaFleur's wedding. He worked with Jeff Hafley in San Francisco. Like he would be such a good fit coming into Green Bay as like a consultant role or something. It would make sense. But honestly, as a cynical person, hearing this news about the head coach getting fired and Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback and all of the, narratives that come through the media about Aaron Rodgers being a drama queen. Watching his interview on Pat McAfee today, he
Hmm.
is talking about how Robertson Adam is his throwing buddy at practice and he was as blindsided as everyone else. He said it was weird. It was almost like in John Wick when he gets excommunicado, like the message goes out and everyone's phones start blowing up. He's like, we were just hanging around the practice facility and then suddenly everyone's phones start dinging. And he said he was completely blindsided. And as much shit as I would like to talk about Aaron Rodgers and kind of like the way things happened with Green Bay, it does sound like he was as blindsided as everyone else. And I think Saleh was right in taking play calling. Like Nathaniel
Right.
Hackett pick out plays to save his life. We saw it in Green Bay. He left. We see it there. Like having a friendship with your quarterback is not a great idea when it comes to being able to call plays properly.
Yeah, so Rodgers might feel that familiarity and that chemistry with Hackett, Nathaniel Hackett. But I'm not buying this that Aaron Rodgers didn't know or that Aaron Rodgers wasn't consulted and he didn't see this coming. I'm not buying that for a second. Nothing happens over there at the Jets organization without Aaron Rodgers being totally clued in. That's why they're going to go get Devontae Adams. That's why they hired Nathaniel Hackett in the first place. That entire thing is built around Aaron Rodgers. Guarantee you 100% Aaron Rodgers, they talked about this, him and the owner, and Joe Douglas, the GM. And they said, I was listening to Pro Football Talk today, and they're like, Peyton Manning and Tom Brady were just as involved it, to that level. They just did a better job of hiding it. But like all superstar quarterbacks, I don't care who you are, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, these dudes are Aaron Rodgers especially for being as old as he is and as much as he's accomplished in the NFL. There's no way he was not consulted about this. He now he's going to say the right things and he's going to, uh try to control the narrative as best he can, but um, you can't convince me that Aaron Rodgers wasn't totally clued in on this, and at the timing with the fact that he's announcing that Hackett is no longer calling plays, and to get fired 5 minutes later, like the writing, all signs point. Trust your gut on that. Trust all the arrows, right?
Well, I would say if Aaron Rodgers was playing well and he was looking good and he was looking like he was going to continue being up to where he has been successful, to the level he's been successful in the past, I would be more inclined to believe that. But I mean, I don't know if anyone else is watching his games. He is slow, he's getting wrapped up, he's stumbling around, he's limping. I don't know how much they're continuing to build the future around him having a future. I mean, he looks geriatric out there.
Well, that's a little overblown too, though. I thought.
Well, I
I
thought we
didn't
were just being exaggerating,
I
today.
didn't
I thought
I
we were.
didn't think he looked that bad in the Vikings game. The Jets can't run the ball. Like
No, no run
any
game
offense,
whatsoever.
yeah, any offense in the NFL, any quarterback is gonna struggle when there's zero running game,
Yeah,
you
what's
know?
going on with Brees Hall? This
Yeah,
slump is, I mean, he was held to 23 yards and 9 carries.
yeah. And
Like, we
Minnesota's a
expected
solid
so much
defense,
more.
but yeah, Brees Hall is supposed to be a superstar. So um but this is why I think the chemistry is just slightly off with Garrett Wilson and with the receivers. You got guys dropping balls. Him
Yeah.
and Mike Williams weren't on the same, you know,
Well, I think
same.
it's funny when he and Wilson have a game, Williams and him are good. But like this game, like
Yeah,
Wilson and him connected pretty well, and Williams and him were off. But
yeah,
the Nathaniel Hackett situation, like I gotta side with Robert here because you have Brees Hall in a slump and you need a run game. It would make sense to transfer some of those carries to Braylon Allen, and they just gave
yeah,
run entirely. Like they're like,
yeah.
no, we'll stick to throwing it. It didn't
Well,
make
and remember when Nathaniel Hackett was the head coach of the Broncos, how badly that went.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
remember him
so
in Green Bay too. Like there are reasons
yeah,
that he has not maintained a job. And I do think taking play calling away from someone that the owner brought in might rub the owner the wrong way. Like if the owner's like, no, we're going to bring this guy in to make our superstar quarterback happy. I feel like the owner might have gone above people's heads there because like that's fucking embarrassing. Like you can't take control away from a guy that I gave control a quarter of the way into the season. So I think
yeah.
maybe it might have been above Aaron Rodgers' head, but like in his honor, like no, we brought this guy in for you. We're gonna like protect him. But I don't know. Like the whole situation's weird. And I've always thought Jets ownership, like it just they do some things and you're like, what the hell? So there's something weird there. And as much
Yeah.
as like the narrative's always going to be anti Aaron Rodgers and he's a diva and he's pulling the strings, I feel like if that was true, there would be a lot more productivity and better records, and Devontae Adams would have already been there.
I think that so what you want is a strong, uh, proven winner ownership. You want a strong ownership, a strong organization that won't allow a quarterback to come in and kind of bully his way around, right?
Yeah.
This is the issue with the Jets is that they're not a well-run organization. They haven't been forever. And so they convince Aaron Rodgers to come in and pretty much say, "We'll give you whatever you want. You're the king here. You know, save us." Right? We haven't had a quarterback since Joe Namath,
Yeah.
and so no one is going to hold Aaron Rodgers and say, "No, let's not do that because this over here is what's in best interest of the team. This is what is going to lead to wins. I know you want this. I know you want Alan Lazard. I know you want Nathaniel Hackett. I know you want Devontae Adams, but in order for us to win and be at our best, this over here is the right move." Instead, I believe that they're just like, whatever you want, Aaron Rodgers, we're going to do that. And so it came to a head. They fire Robert Saleh. I think it's going to backfire. I really do. Now you promote Jeff Ulbrich, who's the defensive coordinator, to interim head coach. Now he's got a ton more responsibility on his plate, and he can't singular focus on the defense.
Don't you think that the Nathaniel Hackett would have been Aaron Rodgers' pick for head coach though? If he's pulling
Yeah,
the
that
strings, then
that would
why
have made sense,
why
but
isn't it
Nathaniel
him?
Hackett has sucked
I
too.
know,
So
but I'm just saying if you say the whole narrative like Aaron Rodgers is pulling the string, he gets what he wants, Nathaniel Hackett would be the head coach.
well,
But I
true.
also let's just point out real quick,
Mm-hmm.
this game, I don't think Aaron Rodgers can have any pull or any say in anything that happens after this game after throwing two picks in the first quarter. First time he's ever done that in his career. I think the owners, if like they spoke to him after the game, he calls him Woody. He reached out and asked how he was doing because he got wrapped up and his ankle got banged up. But apparently that's something he does every time a player gets injured or beat up during a game. He calls them. It's something he's always done. He's called Aaron Rodgers after surgeries. Um,
I think the
but
star quarterback more than others, but yes.
well, of course, yeah,
Yeah.
your stars, you're the big names of the franchise, you're gonna definitely check in with.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't think Aaron Rodgers been like, hey coach, I know I played the worst first quarter of my life and I've never thrown two picks in a quarter before. But maybe we can get rid of the head coach. Like, I don't think he had any fucking pull this week.
Well,
Also, the receiver he brought in, he begged for Alan Lazard to come. Alan Lazard has three drops in the game. Like, you can't tell
exactly.
us anything, Aaron. Sit in your corner, think about what you did. You're in a timeout right now. I just don't see him being able to like say anything and be heard this week.
Well, you
Like, you
would
can't
think
blame a head
so.
coach for picks.
A real owner, a smart owner would be like, maybe this isn't the week to pull this and it's week 6. Like, let's not overreact and fire the head coach this early in the season. Like, we're one win away against the Bills from being
Yeah,
tied for the division lead. Like, this is complete overreaction panic mode by
yeah,
an incompetent organization that's allowing Aaron Rodgers to come in and do whatever he wants. It's not in
yeah.
the best interest of the team.
I
So,
will say we're gonna agree to disagree with how much pull Aaron Rodgers had.
oh,
I think
100%
if
pull.
his recent play was Tom Brady level at the end of his career, absolutely. But I think whatever pull he had is in the toilet now because he's thrown three picks a game. His receiver that he begged for can't fucking catch a ball. Like he's playing like shit. I don't think they're listening to anything he's saying. But
Well,
real quick,
again,
let's Let's talk
The
about the
issue,
Vikings though.
real quick, the issue is not Aaron Rodgers played poorly in week 5, so he no longer has as much pull. The issue is we're basing it on his entire career, not this year or this week. Like they're giving him
Or
credit
last
for
year?
like shit he was doing when he went to the Super Bowl in Green Bay, right?
Yeah, in 2012.
So yeah, like we
I
need to
think
get
we
with
might
the
be over that a
times.
little bit. Like,
Yeah,
Homeboy played none of last season, and then he's been playing
yeah.
like shit this year. I'm just saying, like, I feel like they might have seen through the illusion of Aaron Rodgers at this point.
You
That's
would
my
hope
point.
so, but yeah,
So we're just saying ownership
no,
in the New York Jets organization is just garbage. Got it. Okay.
yeah, it's worse than my Bears, and you know how I feel about my Bears.
Wow. Ooh, that's
Yeah,
okay. So real
it's
quick, talking the
terrible.
Vikings. The Vikings starting the season 5-0. Sam Darnold, what? I they've
Offensive
won
player of the
some
month.
weird games, but their defense has been solid. Their offense pulls them out. And they're going into a bye week right now. Like Minnesota's got to be popping off this weekend. I mean, I yeah, the projected win total that ESPN's Power Football Index made before the season said they were going to win 7 games this year.
Yeah,
So,
I would.
they're doing freaking fantastic. Aaron Jones with the hip injury in the first half, I thought was going to slow him down a bit. But I was pretty confident in the pick for the Vikings because they've been playing really well. And again, I knew the Jets were a mess coming into this week. But it was a wild day. I mean,
Well, and I'll say, as well as Minnesota's been playing, and as confident as you were in the Vikings pick, they kept the door open. Aaron Rodgers, if this was vintage Aaron Rodgers and he doesn't throw a pick at the end of the game, we I thought a lot of people thought that here Aaron Rodgers gets the ball, he's down 6, he's got enough time, let's go win it. And
there was that one game they gave him the ball back and he said, "Oh, there's too much time left on the clock." Like we love a good Aaron Rodgers comeback, like
yeah,
that vintage.
it
And
was set up
we used the word
for it.
vintage in our preview
Yeah.
episode about how he's been looking vintage. I was ready for that too. I was pulling for him, but it just kind of fell apart. But shout out to the Vikings kicker, rookie Will
Reichert.
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 I
Yeah.
cannot. I always panic when I can hear his name and then I see it and then I just want to pronounce it wrong. I mean, he's 9 for 9 on field goals, 16 for 16 on extra points. He hit from
Yeah.
54, 53, and 41. So, I mean, switch that kicker with Green Bay and they would have lost that game. So shout out to them for knowing how to draft a kicker. Yay.
So Vikings go into their bye and they host the Lions in week 7. That's going to be a fun game. Um, the Vikings are out to a great start.
Mhm.
They're undefeated. They're 5-0.
Real quick though,
Um, huh?
I said real quick, the Vikings have
Yeah.
looked good and they pulled it together at the end, but the first half of this game, Sam Darnold was missing some hugely open receivers.
Yeah. He wasn't.
I would say it's his
Yeah.
worst game of the season, honestly.
Hmm.
So he threw more incompletions than completions this game, 17 and 14. Um,
Two
but
turnovers.
2 turnovers, but he doesn't let it get to his head. So late in the fourth quarter, Justin Jefferson for that beautiful 25-yard, he hit Munt for 20 to set up that final field goal. So he's not letting mistakes get to him. And we see some quarterbacks we love. Baker Mayfield is my favorite one to point out here. If that guy's having a bad day, you can see it on his face, you see it in his play. He can't just forget what happened in the last quarter and kind of refocus. And Sam
Yeah.
Darnold has that skill. And I mean, I have been very impressed with him, which is not a phrase I ever thought I would say, honestly. Like who 2 seasons ago was like, yeah, Sam Darnold's impressing me. Like the fuck, no, no one. So quick shout out to him for pulling it together and not letting the rough start get to him in this game because they needed him and he pulled through.
Yeah, so I know they're out to a hot start. Real quick, can we stop officiating Justin Jefferson with kid gloves and let the defenders play some defense? The
Yeah.
foul, the flags they were throwing were ridiculous. He was getting prime Randy Moss treatment,
There
and
was
it was
some very gentle bumps that were called
yeah,
PI. And I was like,
yeah,
was it though?
it was ridiculous. I know the Vikings are out to a hot start. I know Sam Darnold is balling. That division is very competitive, and I don't think the Vikings, you know, I think they're going to come back down to earth at some point this season. And I don't, I'm still not buying what the Vikings are selling. Is
Yeah.
my
So
point.
speaking of coming back down to earth, how's it over there in space where the Bears have a winning record? They played a hell of a game against Carolina, and granted it's Carolina, and you message me and you're like, hey, can we play Carolina every week? But
Seriously.
a win's a win. We're over 500 at this point. Like, and I mean, Caleb Williams, I've said this, like he has looked better every week. Week to
Yeah.
week, you see him fixing mistakes and addressing them. And I mean, in weeks 1 through 4, he was 5 of 29 and 3 interceptions on passes that were longer than 15 yards in the air.
Yep. He's
Like
starting to get that deep ball
any
going.
deep passes. But this game, he looked good. He connected on some
Yeah.
good ones. He was
I
four for,
could care less if the Bears are winning or not this year. Like, I
yeah, you
don't
just want to
see
see
them making the
improvement.
playoffs. I'm solely focused on Caleb Williams, and
Yep,
he has
development.
each week is developing and taking small steps. He's not taking huge steps, but he's taking small steps each week to get better and better. I said it going into this game that this was going to be his best performance of
Mhm.
the season. Granted, it was against Carolina, it was at home,
Yeah.
and he showed up. I mean, we've seen teams no show against a bad team before,
Yeah.
so at
Playing with
least
their
he showed
food,
up.
playing down to the level.
Yeah,
But I mean,
yeah,
I something I've noticed every week where like the past week there's been something that people are like, oh, he didn't do well in this. The next week he shows up and he improves there. So deep passes this week,
yeah,
4 for 4, 108 yards and 2 touchdowns on his deep passes.
yeah,
Beautiful. So
yeah,
I love to see the development there. DJ Moore is ridiculous. Their connection together has been so good. And it's funny too, because last week after their disappointing game with the Rams, they talked about how they needed to work on their chemistry and they missed some connections between the two of them. Their communication wasn't at its best. So this week they show up and they're connecting well, they're communicating. Moore's
yeah.
got his eye on Williams throughout the game. So just shout out to the Bears for actually addressing issues and improving and making those adjustments.
Yeah, 100%. It was great to see. Yeah, that's we want to see that connection with DJ Moore. He's the number one wide receiver, and nice to see him make some big plays. And on that one deep throw to DJ Moore, you could see where Caleb Williams holds the safety with his eyes
Mm-hmm.
and gets DJ Moore open and then fires it to him. So you love to see that from a rookie, um, and he is developing. So I can't wait for week 6, Sunday morning in London. The Bears will be playing the Jags. That's going to be a great game. I know the Bears are 3-2. The Jags got their first win. The last 2 weeks, the Jags have started to look better, and this is going to be a tough game for the Bears. I think Jacksonville comes out and plays really well in London, and that's like their second home. So
Yeah, I was gonna say London's a home game for the Jags,
yeah.
like always. Um,
Let's
quick,
talk Ravens Bengals. We
well,
we spent. Go
Well, real
ahead.
quick, I just want to bounce to the other side of the ball here. The Bears defense has been playing really well too. And I mean, there are some
Yep.
things we can skim over this week, but I want to just give some credit here because the Bears put up over how many points? When was the last time they put up 36 points in a game? But
Feels like forever.
yeah, so the Bears defense pressured Dalton on 20 of his 41 dropbacks. That's the most a quarterback has been pressured since ESPN began tracking it in 2009.
Hmm.
So
That's
that's
crazy.
impressive for a defense. I mean, you got to stay on a quarterback like that. And I mean, we knew Carolina was injured coming into this game. They're missing 4 defensive starters. Jadeveon Clowney went down during the game. So it was a great game for the Bears to get like a feel good win. Um,
Hmm.
they've got a winning record now, and that's not a bad spot to be.
Yeah, and personally, it felt great to kick Andy Dalton's ass, hold him to 136 yards. I can still remember when the Bears tweeted out quarterback QB1 when they signed Andy Dalton, and I was telling my coworker, I was like, I feel like my dog died or something. Like we just signed Andy Dalton, and like he's well past his prime. So, um, nice to kick his ass and get a win. The Panthers are a mess and they're not going anywhere. Let's go Ravens Bengals, which was a great game. And the Bengals, you have to, if you're a Bengals fan, or if you're on this team, you have to feel like the worst right now. Even after starting the season, 0-3, you got to feel worse now than you did then because you had a 38-28 lead
Mhm.
against the Ravens.
Going into the fourth
You think
quarter, up
in the
10,
fourth
cruising.
And you think about what that win would have meant to this team.
Yeah.
And to lose it, not only lose it, but the way they lost it, to blow a 10-point fourth quarter lead, to get that fumble in overtime, and have Evan McPherson, who is clutch as hell, to win the game, and the holder bobbles the hold and they misses the kick. Like, what else could go wrong for this Bengals team?
I mean, they showed up in this one though. Like some of these
They're
games, like
looking better.
they are improving, but one and
How do
four is
you
a hard
how do you
recovery to
score
make.
38 and lose? Like, that defense is struggling. That's the issue.
Both defenses in this game.
Yeah,
Like there's, I mean, obviously the Cincinnati defense held stronger in the first half, but you got to play four quarters and OT
yeah,
times. But I mean, the Ravens were looking like we expected them to look. I mean, that comeback on those plays, they were looking like, MVP Lamar Jackson. We were expecting Justin Tucker hitting field goals and not missing what did he miss
big
earlier
one.
this season?
He
51
was his
yards.
first 50 plus yarder he's hit all year, and in the clutch.
Yeah, so I mean, they didn't let the score kind of mess with them. They didn't flinch. Like they played well. And the Bengals defense, I mean you called it. Like it is what it is. Like they adjusted some things in the secondary to address some of those holes and those injuries, but you have to play to the end of the game. Um,
Yeah,
and this is a rough loss. I absolutely agree with you. Like to have that lead and blow it and to be that close to beating the freaking Ravens, like that's
yeah.
the nemesis right there, like that,
Would have been a shot of energy and confidence to the entire locker room, and you
yeah.
found a way to blow it.
And being
Um,
2-3 is one win away from being 500. Being
yeah,
1-4, fuck.
and then not only that, you're keeping the Ravens down at 2-3.
Yeah.
Now the Ravens have a head-to-head win and a two-game lead. And just a really tough loss. And the thing is, the Bengals are playing a lot better offensively. They're putting up points. Joe Burrow looks confident. Jamar Chase is killing it. But their defense is a liability. They held Derrick Henry in check for most of the game, and then in overtime he goes crazy and
Yeah.
and
Well, they
sets them
didn't
up for
cover
the
tight
win.
ends the entire game. The tight ends
Yeah,
both put up ridiculous numbers for the Ravens. Kalar and Mark Andrews, huge receptions throughout this game. But
even Likely had some big
yeah,
plays too.
Isaiah
Yeah,
too. Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
They
defense.
Yeah. We're seeing that it's kind of cool to see the comeback. You're seeing a lot of 12 personnel, two tight end offenses in the
Mhm.
NFL, and the Ravens got
I love
three
that
good
too.
tight ends. Yeah,
Yeah. I love having like the teams that have the alternating tight ends where they can play either one and they have different playing styles so you can utilize them differently. I think it's such
yeah,
a key component to these teams that can just rip up a defense. So always fun to watch
yeah,
the Ravens.
100%. The Bengals fall to 1-4, and they'll play at the Giants on primetime Sunday Night Football in Week 6, and that is not a gimme. Like, me and you will sit here and be like, the Bengals should win this, but the Giants have been kind of scrappy lately.
Yeah, the Giants are weird.
And they might be getting Malik Neighbors back from concussion. So
I do think I don't know. It just depends on how the mindset is coming off of this one. Like, are you going to be
mhm.
focused and like, no, we fucked up. We can't do that again, or are you down in the dumps and depressed about it and focused on last week instead of the upcoming game?
I
A
don't
lot
think
is
they'll
going
be
to be
down. They're not going to quit. It's still early in the season. They'll be ready to go, and I think they find a way to get a big win.
okay.
Yeah,
Speaking of,
Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor, the head coach and the quarterback, and Joe Burrow's not going to give up. He's not going to quit. He's a winner.
yeah, but
So
you need that defense to step up too. And if the defense is down on themselves and not focused, like it's a like the offense played fine, like
I think
38
the
points.
defense. We've seen this defense be successful the past couple of years. Lou
Yeah,
Anarumo is a hell of a defensive coordinator. You got Trey Hendrickson. You've got who's that tight end? Logan Wilson.
yeah.
Cam Taylor Britt. Maybe they should have kept Jesse Bates after all. That could have helped.
I think they're missing him.
Yeah.
I don't know what we really need to say about Dolphins at Pats. I mean, the Dolphins won 1-3 teams facing off a 15 to 10 point game. Um,
First team to 15, right?
ugh, it was hideous.
um,
I
The
guess the
only
Dolphins
thing,
are sticking with Tyler Huntley for now.
yeah, I mean, they get to 2-3. Uh, they're going into their bye. I've been hearing that Tua is on pace to come back soon. He's clearing concussion protocol. Tua's going to be back on the field soon.
I heard week 7 or 8.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how we all feel about that, but Tua's going to be back soon.
Yeah.
So maybe that
Dolphins,
can save their season. They're only a game under 500.
yeah. One thing they need to focus on, their special teams is a mess. They
Yeah,
have the most penalties of any special teams in the league. Fumbling, field goals,
block
it's
punt.
blocked punts. Like, yeah, they gotta work that out. And then speaking of quarterbacks in this game, how many more losses until the Pats put Drake May in?
0. As head coach Gerard Mayo announced this week, Drake May is going to start in week 6.
I was just gonna say we talked about this last week. Like how
Yeah,
many more games can they lose? And apparently
yeah.
it was one. He's
I would have done it a week earlier. I would have started Drake May against
yeah,
Miami.
well, week 2 or 3 we were talking about it, and I was like, I don't know, week 4, week 5, like when do you make the change? But
Hmm.
yeah,
So
nothing else to say about this game. Horrible clock management. Special teams were a hot mess.
yeah,
Yeah.
we don't have to talk much more about that one. Very few people actually tuned in to watch that one. So
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm sorry if you're a fan of either of those teams. I'm sorry for your
yeah, sorry
losses.
that we're not covering it, and sorry that you're a fan
You
of
had to
those teams.
witness it. I think we should can yeah, they've had enough misery.
Um, Browns at Commanders. Again, the Commanders are just cruising. 4 straight wins for the Washington Commanders. They blow out the Browns 34-13. Rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels continues to tear it up. Um, the Browns continue to struggle. And this is setting up for a great game in week 6. The Commanders will play at the Ravens. So we get a Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels showdown.
So fucking stoked.
Yeah.
This offense is so good. They're averaging 31 points a game with a
Yeah.
rookie quarterback. They're beautiful.
Yeah.
And even if that defense, because we that defense is kind of hot or cold. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, even if they don't really show up, like the offense should be enough to keep them in. Um, what's funny though is if you look at their numbers and how they're spread out, so they had 434 total yards of offense. 298 of those were on 8 plays. So this
Wow.
game was a lot of nothing and then one huge play, and then a lot of nothing and one huge play. 7 plays that gained 28 yards or more in this game.
That's
Like,
crazy.
talk about a defense falling apart at the wrong times. Like, you don't want to let those big plays off.
And that's the Browns
50-yard.
defense, who was, last year was top 2 in the NFL.
Yeah.
Jim Schwartz
Daniels
is still
had
there.
66, 41 yards. Eckler had what, a 50-yard run. Like, that defense was getting picked apart.
So, I want to talk about the Browns here for a second. They're 1-4. They can't get their offense going. Their defense is struggling. Um, they, in my opinion, similar to what the Jets are dealing with, is there's politics going on because of how much money they paid Deshaun Watson, fully guaranteed. The head coach, I don't believe it can bench Deshaun Watson. He's getting told from higher up ownership, GM, especially ownership, that we're paying this guy too much. You can't bench him. We're gonna lose him. But I think that it's coming soon. Jameis Winston is a very capable backup. He might provide a spark to the offense. And if that does happen, they're talking about in the offseason, they might have to try and trade Deshaun Watson, get someone to take on that contract. They might have to send multiple firsts just to get that trade off.
I mean, this game was so bad for them. I'm hoping we see some improvement, but they haven't scored more than 18 points in a game. The defense
Oh,
was a mess. They had the worst third down offense in the NFL coming into this game and continued. They failed to convert all 12 of their third downs. 0 for
yeah.
12 on third down. And we've talked about this with Hugh over our past couple episodes, how vital those third down conversions are. 0 for
Hmm.
12, like if they had somehow won this game, I would have been shocked. There's no way you can win a game and not convert a third down. Like you can't do that. And the Commanders defense hasn't been that great coming into this game, but they definitely looked
Mhm.
great in this game. So
No,
I'm concerned.
offensively, the Browns are just kind of broken. The offensive line isn't at full strength. It's not doing that great of a job. Deshaun Watson isn't trusting his reads. So instead of seeing someone get open and ripping it, he's like kind of patting the ball and then he gets sacked.
Yeah.
The running
Well, and
game
how
isn't working. Jerry Judy's dropping passes.
well,
You
and I
know?
mean, the offense has been a mess, and that defense, they give up so many yards um, to rushing offenses, and like you focus on the game they've got coming up, they've got to go into Philadelphia.
Yeah,
So they Cleveland's defense is now allowed over 150 rushing yards in back-to-back games, and the Eagles are top five with rushing for the league. So
Saquon's gonna go
I
crazy.
it's going
Yeah.
to be a 300-yard game on the ground if that continues. It's going to be bad. So I hope they pull it together. But I do agree that the politics and the drama and the lawsuits, yeah, that's not great for a team, and they've got to be getting sick of the
So
news.
someone of Mike Florio said that he believes that Deshaun Watson and his team settled that latest lawsuit,
They
like
did,
that
yeah,
paid it off. He said there isn't an announcement on it, but we haven't heard anything from it since it was announced. He thinks it's done, that he paid
yeah.
it off to make
I
it go
saw a couple
away.
other things saying that the lawsuit was settled out of court. Uh,
Yeah, but it's more than that because I know that off the field stuff has got to be weighing on Deshaun Watson and mentally and all that, and it doesn't look like he's having fun. But the offense is just out of sync. Watson isn't playing confidently. He's missing throws. He's not trusting his eyes. Et cetera, across the board. I think it's inevitable. You're gonna have to bench him for Jameis Winston here soon because they're not. It's been 6 games or 5 games, and they haven't been able to get the offense woken up yet. So
yeah, I mean we've seen some successful late season runs by other quarterbacks, but week six is pretty much the last week you have to get on a run. Like if you run the table from here on out, maybe, but ooh, we're
yeah,
not looking good.
and I'm not a
Speaking of
Watson hater. I loved him at Houston. He was my guy. I got a Watson Clemson jersey, but like I call it how I see it. The offense just can't isn't getting it done.
Yeah, and as a woman, I am not a Watson fan, regardless of how things have played out or what's been settled or lawsuits that have been dropped. Um, I just, yeah, I'm not gonna say too much about my stance on that, but if
I
there's smoke,
mean,
there's fire. Like
yeah.
there can't be that much
Regardless
smoke and
of
not be something going on.
Yeah, regardless of what's true, what's not, what extent, et cetera, there it's obvious that something shady was going on when
Yeah.
it's that many lawsuits, and just at the end of the day, if Deshaun Watson was playing really well right now, we wouldn't even be talking about the lawsuits. But because they're
Exactly.
struggling so badly, it's all. So let's move on.
Well,
Let's go to Colts, Jags, and
yeah,
Amanda.
and a quick shout out to Alex because he said, I don't think these Jags are an 0-5 team. I think they're better than that. And
Well, I said that about 0-3. I said that about 0-4. I finally got proven right. And it's nice to see the Jags finally, and really this is 2 games in a row where
mhm,
they've kind of woken up and looked a lot better.
yeah, and last week they were woken up, they just, didn't quite pull it off. So do we think the Trevor Lawrence slump is over?
Yeah, I think the Jags are going to be very competitive from here on out. They got the big win. They got the monkey off their shoulders, and they get to play a rookie quarterback in the Chicago Bears. And I think like they're licking their chops in London, ready to be like, here's an opportunity. Let's go get win number two.
Yeah, I mean, Lawrence hadn't won a game since November 23 of 2000 or 26 of 2023. Like nine
Mm-hmm.
consecutive starts for him that he's lost. So, I was ready to see it turn around. Didn't think it'd be this week because,
Mm-hmm.
I like my Colts quarterback right now. Uh,
Flacco got the start. Yeah.
I know, I love him. I will always pick him to win. He's so fun. Uh, but there were some beautiful, beautiful deep shots to Brian Thomas Jr. and Kristen Kirk in this game.
Yep.
They did have
Tank
some really big
Bigsby.
misplays.
Yep.
Some long touchdown plays that were missed last week, but a couple mild misplays this week, but they definitely seem to have improved on their chemistry and their connection there. And Tank Bigsby.
Went
Their
crazy.
running back went crazy.
Yeah.
I love me an NFL player named Tank. Tank Dell, like that's if you are calling your kid Tank when he's a kid, like you have planned for this boy to join the NFL. Like that's no, nobody is like, oh, I think he's gonna be a lawyer. Let's call him Tank. Like, nah, this was the goal. So I'm happy for their family's dreams, coming to fruition and him going off this week. Um, but I mean, it was a great game. It was fun. I like a high scoring game. Alex prefers like the low scoring defensive, like that like 10-9 game from last week. Alex
Oh
loves it. It's like,
yeah,
"Ah,
I
give
love
me give
it.
me a combined score of 90 points. Like I
What
want touchdowns and
what
kick
game
return."
was it? John was messaging me and he's like, "What do you think of that game?" Oh, it was the Sunday night game with the Steelers and Cowboys. Like, what do you think of that? I was like, "Oh, it was beautiful." I was like, "I love that type of football. Hard
Ooh.
hitting." Um, Shout out Trayvon Walker. Everyone was so quick to say the Jags made a mistake in drafting Trayvon Walker over Aiden Hutchinson. And Aiden Hutchinson gets all the love, and they're like, oh, Trayvon Walker's a bust. Trayvon Walker last year started to get it going. He was always more of a raw prospect than Aiden Hutchinson. Started to get it going last year. And in this game, 3 sacks and a forced fumble. He's got 5 sacks through 5 games. He's on pace for like 17 sacks. So
I mean, this game was
good play on.
full of some awesome stats. Brian
Yeah.
Thomas Jr. I mean, obviously we knew that his combine numbers were fast, but he just ran the second fastest run at 22.15 miles per hour on that 85-yard touchdown. It's the second fastest in the past 4 years in the NFL.
And he's one of those. If I'm the Bears and I could go back and redraft, I would consider taking Brian Thomas over Roma Dunze. And I don't know why he fell,
And you
but
love Roma Dunze too, so that's saying a lot.
yeah, I believe Brian Thomas is going to be an absolute superstar in this league, and him and Trevor Lawrence together can make a lot of plays. Like I think that's the best thing for Trevor Lawrence is to drafting Brian Thomas Jr.
I will say
Um,
though, Trevor Lawrence was gifted a little bit in this game. The Colts, some stupid coaching here. They relied on their typical four-man rush, which would be fine if three of their four men weren't out with injuries. Um,
yeah, my friend was mad at the Colts. Gus Bradley, he's like Gus Bradley's got to go because the defense was so bad. But
well, DeForest Buckner, Pay, Lewis are all out, and you're still using your four-man rush with three of your four guys. Like, what? Why not adjust? I don't. That's idiotic. They didn't have a single sack the whole game. And we know Trevor Lawrence might need to be wrapped in bubble wrap, but this game they didn't have to worry about it.
couldn't
Um,
stop the pass, couldn't stop the run, couldn't do anything.
Didn't stop anything.
Yeah.
And I mean the Colts lose on the road in Jacksonville. This is their 10th in a row. So I should have known better, but I love me some Flacco as Backo. So
Well, he played solid and he
and
played
it was a close
excellent the
game.
week before. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this
Um,
one's the Jags defense.
yeah. And again, I always look at a division rivalry matchup and I'm always like, anything can happen.
Yeah, a
Like,
grain
you
of salt
never
with
know.
those for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Um, Bills Texans, great game. Talk to me about your Bills. They started out 3-0. Now they've lost two in a row. How are you feeling?
They just don't seem to play the first half of games. I don't know why they're
Mm,
not clicking in the first half. James Cook obviously cooked. He did
yeah.
like in the second half, but like he had 3 points in the first half. Josh Allen wasn't completing anything. He was less than a third of his throws complete through the first 2 quarters. Worst completion percentage in a half since 2019. Um, and like receivers were dropping balls. I think it's just one of those games where they had a rough start and they tried to come back for it, but just couldn't do it. And their defense kind of failed them on third down as well. The Texans were running around them on third down. But just offense issues. I this I can't remember the last game that Josh Allen had numbers this bad. I mean, 9 of 30, 131 yards. Like
I remembered seeing that and I was like, that can't be right. And I just looked it up again because I was like,
like you expect to see that for like
I
a
mean,
quarter of the game. Like, oh, he had a rough second quarter. Like, Nuts had a rough
if
day.
Mitch Trubisky did that, everyone would be hating and laughing. Like
No.
Josh Allen, like that's
Well, Josh Allen was also unconscious on the field for part of the game.
That was
So,
late
you know,
though, and to that point, he suffered a concussion. We all know it. What are we doing here? Like,
oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I wanted to touch on that too.
yeah,
Um, that was a mess. It was not handled well at all.
it was like very similar to what happened with Tua, uh, two, three, two, you know, 2 or 3 years ago when he suffered that concussion. He come back the next week and then he got ragdolled down. But like,
Yeah.
you got to
I
be
am worried
careful with
about
that.
Josh.
I think we all agree that he was concussed there. Some people are going to be like, no, he was checked out. But how do you check someone out in that short a time? You
Yeah,
know?
I think there was something up with him. I don't know what was going on. But that was a bad performance for them. And I know the Texans defense is pretty good, but I don't think they're that good. So I don't know if he like what was going on before the game. But it was just a weird day for Josh Allen and the Bills offense. So I just feel
Well,
like we're missing information.
I'll say this. Here's a hot take. All this talk about Devontae Adams to the Jets. You know who could really use Devontae Adams? The Buffalo Bills. And
I want him in Buffalo.
if you
I would
trade for
love that.
him, not only do you gain him, but you keep him from the Jets, who is your biggest rival in that division to win it. So I would seriously consider that if I'm the Bills. I mean, they're leading. What's his name? Khalil Shakir was out.
Yep.
Their leading
And they
receiver,
definitely
Keenan
missed him
Coleman,
too.
yeah, one catch. No one had more than two catches.
Yeah,
So
and they
they
have yet
need,
to replace Stefan, so
yeah,
Devontae could be
if
a
you bring in Devontae and then move Keon Coleman to wide receiver two, then you got Khalil Shakir as your slot guy. Everything falls into place a lot better if you add Devontae.
yeah. And this offense, I don't know what's going on. They need like a team building weekend or something. I mean,
Hmm.
miscommunications with receivers looking the wrong way when a ball is floating their direction, drops on almost every single drive. Final drive, they didn't advance the ball and just wasted the clock. Like it was a mess. So hopefully the Bills address whatever is going on there because that was very disappointing as a closet Bills fan.
Yeah, and the bright spot is Josh Allen throws 9 of 30, and you only lost by three. And you needed
Yeah.
a 59-yard field goal by Fairbairn as time expired. Who again, Kaimi Fairbairn, clutch as hell, one of the best kickers in the league. Um,
I have
Bills are on
such
a
bad
two.
kicker envy this season. Like,
What? Braden Narvison is the goat.
oh,
Uh,
no. Where's
Cody Parkey's
McManus?
available. Cody Parkey's got to be out there somewhere.
Yeah, but also they cleared McManus. I haven't seen him like trying out for anyone.
That's true. Yeah, bring him in.
Yeah, because that was last week. He technically could like I have heard no news about him, so I don't know. Maybe they said he was clear before he was actually clear, but I am shocked he is not being tried out by teams yet.
He should be, yeah. Bills fall to 3-2, and I can't wait. There's so many games in Week 6. We talked about Sunday night. Let's talk about Monday night. 3-2 Bills at the Jets on Monday Night Football. Uh, I mean, damn near a must-win for Buffalo early in the year. I know it's in New York, division rivalry, but the Bills need this one. They don't want to be on a three-game losing streak, tied for first
Yeah,
place.
and the Jets are such a mess right now that you think they should win.
Yeah, but
You lose
I
to a
think
team
the
that
Jets
just
will
fired their
show up
coach
for
after
that.
week 5. Yeah.
I'm gonna go. I'll tell you my pick. Right, I'm taking the Jets
Oh
to win that
God.
one. By
Of course you
the
are.
way.
If Devontae Adams gets traded to the Bills, are you going to retract that statement?
Nope, still taking the Jets.
Okay. Gross. Um,
uh,
Absolutely not. Let's talk Denver. Okay, can we just a quick shout out to Bo Nix because that is
mhm.
not the season I was expecting him to have yet. I thought, he's got talent. It'll be a couple of years. He'll pull it together. But okay, I stand corrected, sir. 34 to 18. Even with a banged up O-line in
Mhm.
Denver. I mean, he's been playing.
He balled out, and most importantly, that defense is absolutely balling out for Denver. That's the strength of the
Well, the defense is good, but this is the highest score they've put up in a game since 2021.
Yeah, and
I mean, it's 34 points. It's not like it's 50. Like
well,
they're,
7 of that was Patrick Surtain.
Okay,
100
but
yard pick
still,
six, which
that
was
was
yeah,
beautiful.
which was
He's so
awesome.
good.
It was Champ Bailey-esque. That was
Hmm.
nice. But credit to Bo Nix and credit to Sean Payton for slowly bringing the rookie quarterback along, not asking him to do too much, And Bo Nix, the biggest thing you want is your young quarterback to be gaining confidence, and Bo Nix seems to be doing that. How about these rookie quarterbacks all across the league are playing pretty good football so far this year? So it's nice to see. Um,
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how they make adjustments. I mean, right tackle Mike McGlinchey is on IR. His replacement left with an ankle injury in the game. Their center also an ankle injury during the game. Um, and Garrett Bowles limped off the field too. So it was a rough game for them. Um, someone wrote that it was like they had forgotten Javonte Williams was on their team, and they're like, "Oh shit, you're still here! Here, have the ball."
yeah.
So they like remembered he was there,
Mhm.
and and they were spreading the ball around. A franchise record 11 different receivers caught the ball in the game. So I'm just curious what the game plan is, because at this point I just feel like they're
Mhm.
just drawing straws, and whoever the straw is who's getting the ball in that play. Like it seems very random. It's working, but it also like it doesn't seem like methodical. Like they're just
I
like, oh
like
fuck it,
it
try him
though.
this time. I like it. It's fun. I don't know what's happening.
Especially for a young quarterback. Like, there's no forcing it to Cortland Sutton or the number one
Yeah.
receiver. Just
It's
throw it
not
to the open
predictable
guy.
either. Yep.
Yeah, they're sitting back and trusting Sean Payton to scheme dudes open, and it's working. And then if you have the running game on top of it, the defense, they're really playing all three phases solid, football. So that's a recipe for success. They get to 3-2. The Raiders bench Gardner Minshew again. I believe the second time this year he's been benched mid-game. Head coach Antonio Pierce undecided on which quarterback will start in Week 6 against the Steelers. I don't think it makes much of a difference whether you go Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew. The biggest thing here is the Raiders don't have a quarterback. And
Yeah.
Atlanta fucked everything up by taking Michael Penix. The Raiders are still regretting that.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny too, because like Gardner Minshew was 9 of 9 until the pick.
Mm-hmm.
You give up 100-yard pick six, that's gonna fuck with your head a little bit. And then after that, I mean, 12 of 17. Like,
Yeah,
and
and
Aiden
he's
O'Connell
not.
comes into the game rusty. Like he was 10 of 20. Like it wasn't that much of an improvement. But the Raiders definitely had a bit of a meltdown in this game.
Yeah, and I just don't think the Raiders are a very good team. And Antonio Pierce, while I like him and I want to root for him, how he handled the Devontae Adams situation isn't ideal. How he's handling the quarterback situation, I don't think is ideal.
I
And
think he also needs a better filter and a PR team. Because some of
yeah,
the stuff this man says in interviews and will state opinions on,
he's
uh,
old school.
he
He,
is,
yeah.
but I don't, yeah. The world's a little too PC for AP, I think.
Well, and
Um,
you need some winning before you can kind of be that way. You need to, to prove that you're a winner before you can kind of get away with some of that stuff.
yeah, fair. Quick shout out to Brock Bowers. Longest touchdown by a rookie since 2019, that 57-yard touchdown. So
Nice. I mean, he's a bright spot. At least they
yeah, I was
got
gonna say
him.
beautiful play and a shitty game.
um, how about the Cardinals rallying from down 23-10 to beat the 49ers 24-23? They forced Brock Purdy into multiple interceptions and stole the win. A huge win for the Cardinals and a devastating loss for the 49ers.
I mean, this was like Arizona's Super Bowl, honestly.
Yeah.
Like this was a huge win for them. Um, and I mean, they were held deep in the red zone 4 times. The offense finally figured it out in the fourth quarter. And I mean that game-winning drive was beautiful. Kyler Murray was
hmm
it was beautiful. So I feel like so last year they started 1-4. And it was not hopeful at all. Starting 2-3, taking down the 49ers. I mean, 2-3 is miles ahead of where they were last year. Even if like, yeah, it's a losing record, but if there ain't a lot of hope and promise and potential here this year that was not there last year, I would
Yeah.
be stoked with that record if I were them. Because I mean, one win away from a 500 record. Marvin Harrison Jr. with, I mean, beautiful catches in this game, 36-yard catch, um, only five other targets. Um, some miscommunication there a little bit, but the ones he is catching, he seems to be connecting well on. Um, I just want to say real quick, Arizona's defense needs to stop with the defensive holds because they are being
Mhm.
penalized so much for that defense and losing so many yards.
Well, if that was kind of like the Legion of Boom's motto, we're gonna hold so much that they can't call it every play, so we're gonna use it to our
They're gonna miss a
advantage.
couple holds, yeah.
Yeah, but
Mm.
yeah, automatic first downs are killers for a defense. So, um,
Arizona at Green Bay is gonna be interesting.
I think Green Bay's got that one in the bag. I'm not a believer in this Cardinals team. I know that they're looking better, but they're inconsistent to me. I don't know who this team is from week to week, and I think they're a 6 or 7 win team, eight at most. I don't think they make the playoffs.
Their red zone defense, though, was great in
Mhm.
this game.
Well,
Um,
and it helps when Jake Moody got hurt, the kicker for the Niners, when they
True.
had to
I
go
mean,
for it and stuff.
well, they had what, three field goals and a fumble on four stops inside the 10. Like
Yeah.
that's fine. 9 points on four red zone trips. That's beautiful.
And more importantly, I'm worried about this 49er team. They fall to 2-3, and it doesn't get any easier. Tomorrow night, Thursday night, they play at the Seahawks, who also come off a bad loss. You know Seattle's going to be ready to play in this one. This is a tough game, and the Niners are down their kicker, who's got a high ankle sprain.
They're
Uh,
running back.
their running back McCaffrey might be out for the season, or at least until like December. Hufanga now is going to miss a month with a wrist injury. They're still waiting on Dre Greenlaw coming back. You know, the Niners, there's a lot of things working against them right now. And this is a game that they had in the bag and blew it. And if they can't find a way to go into Seattle tomorrow night and get a big win, they're going to be staring at 2-4. And I don't know. This Niners team is starting to worry me a little bit.
Yeah, they definitely need to work on addressing some of those issues. Jordan Elliott, though, beautiful play in this game. So I feel like he might have something personal against him here.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, I don't know. It just seemed personal. He seemed a little too happy about that. Um, but some interesting adjustments they'll have to fix with the kicker and the running back situation. The
Yeah.
Packers, I honestly, so the 2-2 Packers at the 1-3 Rams, this game was a pretty 50-50 split across, social media, who was picking who. You and I both picked the Packers. Um,
Hmm.
Chad Brown is rude and picked the Rams, so now we're in a fight. The only thing I really want to say about this is Tucker Kraft had an amazing game, and we talked about tight ends earlier and how we love a good tight end game. Tucker Kraft went off in this game. Xavier McKinney now 5 for 5 on having a pick in each of the five
That's
starting games.
crazy. Is he gonna get 17 picks?
Yes, that is my goal. I want him every week. I want him to get two next week.
Hmm.
His latest, he's only the third player in the NFL since 1940 to have one in each of his five first games. Um, and he
That's
recovered a
crazy.
fumble too. I mean, X was
Yeah.
the greatest addition to this Packers team in the offseason. Scrappy win. The Rams, entering their bye week this week, 1-4. And compared to where they were last week, they started the season 7 of 8. So I
The
think their
Rams,
defense is the issue.
yeah, I
Their
don't trust the
secondary is
Rams.
garbage.
Their injury hit. Uh, Stafford's old. The only thing keeping that team competitive is Kyron Williams. Um, I just don't see it. I don't think the Rams are gonna be very good this year. They fall to 1-4. I think they're a below 500 team. It's nice, a nice road win for Green Bay, and um, yeah, to me, the two biggest signings. I mean, I said it. Josh Jacobs was a huge addition, and Xavier McKinney was a great addition. So, um, They get to 3-2. They play the Cardinals in Green Bay next week. They should be able to get to 4-2. And it's interesting how we go from Brett Favre, who was a gunslinger, not afraid to throw, across the middle, you know, uh, not afraid to throw risky passes. Then you had Aaron Rodgers, who would throw like 40 touchdowns and 2 interceptions in a season. Jordan
Dude,
Love is Brett Favre. He's not
he
Aaron Rodgers.
is. He needs to
He's
stop showing up to practice or to the game wearing Brett Favre jerseys.
That
Uh,
pick six that he threw was one of the worst pick sixes I've ever seen. That was Daniel Jones esque.
It was
But
funny. The safety one.
yeah, yeah, the one, yeah, where he avoided the
Yeah,
safety and
like
just
he
threw it.
avoided the safety, and as he's falling, he just chucks a pick six. I'm like, you should have just taken the
Yeah,
fucking. That was
remember when
hilarious.
Kyler Murray did that in the playoff game?
Oh
Like
my God.
those are the worst.
That one cracked me up. I will say though, something I have noticed about the Packers, they're a second half team. Second
Hmm.
half of last season, second half of almost every game this year. Like I don't understand. I would love to see 4 quarters, like on all cylinders. Like I want to see this team cohesive for 4 quarters. I only have a couple more minutes, so we need to hurry up. And I would love to hear your take on how the New York Giants, the 1-3 New York Giants, went into Seattle and won 29-20 against the 3-1 Seahawks.
Well, Seattle is obviously still reeling after, the loss to Detroit. Now this loss at home. They had this one. They were about to tie it up, and they allow a blocked field goal return for a touchdown. This game was a lot closer than the score indicates. And I think Seattle's still a very good team. They've just, had 2 bad weeks, and I think they bounce back and get a big win on Thursday night at home. But it's important that they get that win because you don't want to be 3-3 and lose to the Niners at home. Credit to the Giants; they're scrappy. No Malik Neighbors, no Devin Singletary, but Dexter Lawrence with 3 sacks in this game. He's got 6 on the season. Big win for the Giants.
Well, and Deontay Banks. So in the last week, he was called out by his position coach. That I mean, basically, like you weren't even trying to cover CD Lamb. Like, what are you doing, bro? You got to be on it. So his coverage of DK Metcalf, that is a tall order. Covering DK is
Mhm.
fucking impossible. That man is huge. He's everywhere. He's fast. His arms are like 10 feet long. But he forced a fumble when he tackled Metcalf, held him to 2 catches on 5 targets, 21 yards through the first 3 quarters. Like that's beautiful coverage. So I like when a defensive player takes criticism and addresses
It
the issue
does.
because
It gets
that was
better,
beautiful
yeah.
coverage because DK is hard to cover. I'm
Yeah,
still
almost
a little
impossible.
pissed the Packers didn't get him in the draft. I think we traded down past him and I was like, what are you doing? Yeah, so
You could have
that's
had him.
that's one of
You
those.
could have had T. Higgins. There's a lot of
Oh
different guys
god,
that
I
you could
know.
have.
So many players. But why
Cowboys.
is Kenneth Walker not getting more involved? It's rhetorical. We don't need to answer that, but like Kenneth Walker is amazing. Why is Seattle not using him more?
They're saving him for Thursday night. He'll go off on Thursday night. And he went crazy the week before against Detroit.
I know,
They
but
just
in
need
this
to
game they needed him, and they were like, "Nah, he's good."
they were like in Gino we trust, which he's not Patrick Mahomes. So
No,
trust him a little bit, but let's get Kenneth Walker involved.
absolutely.
Cowboys Steelers clutch. Dak comes through in the end. Pittsburgh had this one, but Dak comes through on 4th and goal with the game-winning touchdown pass, overcomes 3 turnovers, and gets the win. A big win for the Cowboys to get back above 500. And now with Russell Wilson getting healthy, there's a growing talk about Russell Wilson taking over at quarterback for the Steelers and Justin Fields going back to the bench. So we'll see if that happens and what that does for the Steelers.
Yeah, and it sucks too because we know Justin Field has talent. He just doesn't have consistency at all.
Yeah,
Like he's
and but
very,
the thing,
very hot and cold.
if they won this game, there wouldn't be any talk of that. Really, it's just about protecting the football and getting wins. He didn't turn the ball over. Make a stop on 4th and goal, and we're not even talking about it. But you know,
George Pickens cracked me up showing up to the game wearing eye black that said always fucking open and then only getting 2 looks or 2 catches on six looks. Like if you're open, catch the fucking ball, bro.
yeah.
And he had that late hit penalty and stuff in the game. So, just ironic.
Saints Chiefs. A big win for the Chiefs at
Can't believe
home.
you called the Saints here.
Well, like I said, I hate the Chiefs. I'm gonna pick against the Chiefs most weeks this season. I don't think they're a 5-0 team. They've gotten lucky to get to this point. They get home field calls. I hate. I'm not a big fan of Patrick Mahomes. I'm not a big
Oh,
fan of Travis Kelce and the stupid ass laterals. I don't like Taylor Swift every 5 seconds. And most of all, I could even stand Taylor Swift. Why are we showing Donna Kelsey every 5 seconds too? Like, let's get a grip.
yeah. I'm
Anyway,
I'm a little sick of the marketing. I will say I'm not a Chiefs fan. If Devontae Adams goes to the Chiefs, I quit football. I'm just gonna
that's
take a
not
break.
going to happen, by the way. The
It
Raiders beat reporter came out and said it's not happening.
It
So,
better fucking not. That would be disgusting. But we've talked about Juju Smith-Schuster being completely invisible on that offense in some games. 7 catches, 130 yards. Beautiful game. Baby Rashee Rice over here. Definitely stepping more into his role, which I like. And
which
he
is,
was playing some defense too.
yeah, it's crazy. Juju Smith-Schuster not just disappearing in Kansas City. Where's he been for the last 5 years? And now here in Kansas City, he's had a couple impactful games, including Sunday night or Monday night. And then they bring in Juju Smith-Schuster. They bring in Kareem Hunt. It doesn't matter. These dudes step in off the street and start performing.
Yeah, MVS has had some amazing postseason plays there. I'm like, fuck that guy. Like I will hate him forever.
Yeah, and really cool. As much as I want to hate on it, that lateral pass by Kelsey was
It
cool.
was so good. I
And
messaged you. I was like, that was the coolest lateral I've ever seen.
Andy Reid says they practice that every day in practice. So
I
that's
love
something to
that.
keep an eye on. Does that become, on Madden, we do shit like that all the time. And as kids, growing up, we're always like, you know, we love the lateral play. Remember when Randy Moss did it
Yeah,
in a
I love
big
me a good
game?
lateral.
And you wonder if the Chiefs make that kind of like a thing going forward. If other teams start to we
Use it
might see
more.
more laterals. Yeah.
Yeah. It's gonna be like the onside kick though, where you have to like let the other team you're gonna know you're gonna do it or some bullshit.
Because the Seahawks, I believe, did it on against the Lions
Yeah.
the other week. So,
So real quick, the Saints have to work some stuff out. They've got so many injuries. Derek Carr with the oblique injury this week.
he's out for a
They've
couple of weeks.
Yep, and they've got Tampa Bay coming up with their former head coach. And then their former head coach with the Broncos the week after that. Like it's gonna be a tough couple of weeks. They need to at least like split the games, one win, one loss, just to
They
kind of
uh,
branch over that car
they
injury.
announced they're going to be starting rookie quarterback Spencer Rattler. So we'll see how he does.
Best of luck to him.
I'm not a huh.
I said best of luck to him.
Yeah, best of luck. I'm not a big fan. Wasn't, he didn't exactly kill it in college, so we'll see how he does, but it's an opportunity. We'll see if he can get it done. Real quick, before you get out of here, let's end this thing up on week 6, Thursday night football, our picks. 2-3 49ers at the 3-2 Seahawks. The Niners with 4 straight wins against the Seahawks. Both teams coming in off of bad losses. Who takes this one in Seattle?
Ugh, man,
It's a tough one, actually.
it is really tough because they're both coming off bad losses. I mean, the 49ers didn't score in the last 30 minutes of the game. The Cardinals like came back and yeah, so I have issues on both sides of the ball with San Francisco. And then Seattle is just, I mean, you lost to the Giants. I don't,
It's consistency with Seattle. One week they look
yeah.
great, the other week they lose to a bad team. I'm taking Seattle at home. I think they
I
show
was
up.
gonna say, I think I'll take the Niners. They've got a lot of talent and a lot of their issues seem to be self-inflicted. Um,
Yeah. By the
and
way, did we tie again this week?
we did.
It starts this week. We're not tying, and it starts on Thursday night when I get a game on you. I
Okay,
own
but
Thursday nights, so just
you do
about
win on Thursday nights, but everybody's like tired, whatever. All right. Well,
it.
I gotta run, but guys, let us know how dumb you think Alex picks are, because I would love to have more people talk shit to him for me.
No,
Like,
Alex is a genius. Amanda, when she wins, is only lucky. No, I'm just kidding. Great
our
stuff
point
as always.
differentials are on games on games that we choose differently, like Alex will win his picks by like 1 point and I'll win by like 30. So
Well, which games are tougher to pick? The closer scores or the blowouts? See? I'm just killing it.
why are you so dumb and picking the wrong ones though?
Well, sometimes I gotta go with my heart and hate on some teams like the Chiefs and the Lions, so it is what it
That's
is.
fair.
Hope you
Yeah.
guys enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment. Check us out on Spotify now, also on still on YouTube. John Abraham will be back next week. We should have Hugh Jackson for our picks episode this week. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment. Good shit as always, Amanda, and peace out.